Shalom, friends. Today I would like to talk about persistence. But first, I want to talk about hotel loyalty programs. No, this is not a commercial, but as I was reading this week's Parsha, I wondered, actually, if Avraham is the creator of what has become known as the hotel loyalty program. Let me explain. After Avraham's disappointing episode in Egypt, when he almost loses Sarah, the Torah tells us that he left Egypt, Vayelech lemasa'av, and he went on his journeys. And Rashi teaches us something very, very interesting. Kishechazar mi Mitzrayim le'eretz Canaan, when he left Egypt to go back to Canaan, Holech vilan ba'achsaniot shelan bahem bahalichato leMitzrayim. He went back and stayed at the same inns that he stayed in on his way to Egypt. So why on earth would he do that? And why is that important even for the Torah to tell us? So Rashi, quoting a Gemara, says that it teaches us derech eretz. It teaches us good manners, that we should not change the inn. An issue about loyalty, a lesson about loyalty. I wonder if there's another answer, and let's hold off on that and continue talking about Avraham's career. Avraham was destined for greatness, that we know. God, in fact, told him so. Vayomer Hashem al Avram, lech lecha me'artzecha, the famous psukim. God tells Avram to leave his homeland, and in return, God says, V'escha legoy gadol, I'm going to make you a great nation. V'avarechecha v'agadla shemecha v'yebracha, and I will bless you, I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Yet, despite these promises, things go terribly wrong for Avraham very, very quickly. First, there is a famine in the land that God promised him. And according to Rashi, this famine was a test to see if Avraham would disavow his relationship with God. It must have been a very serious famine. And it's that very famine that forces Avraham to leave the land that God promised him and go to Egypt in order to find sustenance. And then his sojourn, his stay in Egypt, puts the very promises that God had given him in peril. Having to leave Israel to go to Egypt for salvation was a direct threat to the assurance of the land. And furthermore, we're told that Paro, after the whole episode, gifted Avraham with many things, including shvachot, maidservants. And Rashi tells us elsewhere in Genesis that one of those maidservants was Hagar. And of course, we know that from Hagar came Yishmael, who was a great threat to the promise that Avraham's offspring will inherit it. It was at least confused the issue. Avraham heeds God's command to leave home, yet his obedience is met with near disaster. And so how does Avraham react? And that's the key issue for today's discussion. How does Avraham react? How would anyone react if faced with such misfortune and such reversals? So this is where the hotel loyalty program comes in. It is the possessive and plural form, Vayelech lemasa'av, and he, Avraham, went on his journeys, that caught Rashi's attention. What is the Torah trying to tell us by stating that Avraham went on his journeys? The Torah could simply have said that Avraham went on his way. By recording, I'm suggesting, by recording that Avraham retraced his steps, the Torah is telling us that Avraham remained steadfast in his commitment to the covenant with God. Just as he was sure of that commitment on his way, he was sure of that commitment on his way back. And there's another clue that the Torah left for us, suggesting that Avraham got back on the horse, so to speak. In Perek Yud Gimel, Pasuk Daled 13:4, the Torah tells us that Avraham returned El Makom HaMizbeach Asher Asa Sham Barishona, Vayikra Sham Avraham B'Shem Hashem, that Avraham went back to the site of the altar that he had built the first time on his way, and Avraham invoked the Lord by name. He continued to call out God's name. And here Rabbi Soloveitchik offers us a beautiful insight. He says as follows: the disappointing experience in Egypt did not discourage Avraham from pursuing his original goal, the total redemption and conversion of the land. He returned to the site where he had built the altar before his journey to Egypt, and there he again called on the name of God. The universal ideal was Avraham's lodestar: persecution, ridicule, indifference, opposition, loneliness. None of these experiences discouraged him. Rabbi Soloveitchik, in a very creative interpretation of Avraham's decision to go to Egypt in the first place, raises the stakes and suggests that Avraham went to Egypt to convince Paro and his subjects to accept monotheism, perhaps uncomfortable suggesting that Avraham left Canaan, the very land that God had promised him. Rabbi Soloveitchik submits that Avraham saw Egypt as a religious project. And if so, then Avraham's time in Egypt represents a total, complete failure. Yet, he will not be deterred. Perhaps this is Avraham's greatest moment. Avraham's life's work was to teach people about God. He utterly dedicated himself to that mission, and it was not working. Yet Avraham was not to be deflated. He reasons that if it is not working here yet, that he will try elsewhere. Avraham had a great career, but his decision to carry on after he fell so hard may be his most impressive achievement. It is not easy to give up after one falters. After slipping, surrender is so seductive. Yet Avraham reminds us never to give up. He reminds us that our mission is bigger than any single or even many setbacks. The Gemara in Masechet Tanit lists numerous answers given by rabbis when they were asked why they were blessed with a long life. And each rabbi gave a different answer. Some said they never sought respect by humiliating others. Some said they never slept in the study hall, always said a blessing before offering the priestly blessing. And the question is there any inherent connection between all these answers? Rabbi Elia Lopian explains that the link between all of the responses is that they all began with Li'olam, never in my life. The common thread was persistence in pursuing goals that they felt were very important. Some studies even conclude that those who persistently pursue important goals are healthier, which of course results in longevity. We all have a mission, even more than one mission in life. We are children, parents, spouses, we have jobs, we are part of the Jewish community, we are part of the larger community. These aspects of our life may not sound as impressive or important as Avraham's mission to change the world, but they really are. What gave Avraham the fortitude to carry on? I think it was his belief that his mission was so important that failure was not an option. We have to join that same loyalty program that Avraham developed. We have to live as if each of the missions or aspects of our life are crucial, and most importantly, that we can be successful despite the setbacks. Avraham, in Rabbi Soloveitchik's words, was persistent and determined because he believed in his mission and he believed in himself. And so must we. Shabbat Shalom.